Well, thank you all for being here today. My name is Phil McCorkle, and my job at Marion Polk Food Share is to end hunger. I do this by serving as Vice President of Development. Today, I just hope that I can convey to you some of the challenges that your community faces and the importance of this Rotary Food Drive. We deal with a lot of numbers at Marion Polk Food Share, and I'm going to share some of those with you. But we never forget that behind every one of those numbers is a real person. So how many local families are struggling with hunger in your community? It might surprise you to know that 1 out of every 5 households in the 2 counties had to eat from an emergency food box at least once this past year. Currently, an average of 8,200 families a month are experiencing hunger emergencies and needing the aid of a food box in order to feed themselves. That's a 27% increase over the 6,500 families a month average from a year ago. As you entered today, a real child greeted you. And then you walked between 9 boards, and I don't know if you noticed the outlines on those boards, but you were handed a flyer that had an outline of a brightly colored child, and on those boards there are 12,000 outlines. That's how many children a month are eating from food boxes just in our 2-county area. It's hard to even comprehend those numbers, I know, it's hard to believe. But they're based on actual reports from our member charities. We have 95 charities that we supply food to. Numbers from other sources, though, point to the same cause for concern. For example, in the school year 2006-07, this map of Oregon shows by county, the red counties are the ones where over half of the children in those counties qualified for free or reduced price lunches based on family incomes near or below poverty. It's worth noting that that map was right before the recession. Now here's the map 4 years later. That's the impact of the recession. And when you look at our region, you see that Marion County went from 50% to 59%, and Polk went from 46% to 51%. To respond to this need, Marion Polk Food Share distributed over 7.6 million pounds of food. And that food would be valued at over $8.5 million. Donations make up the majority of our food supply, but government plays a smaller and important role. Donations also account for 90% of our operating budget, including funds that we use to make bulk purchases of food. Last year, we bought over 700,000 pounds of food, purchasing semi-truck load quantities at a time so that we get the best deal possible. We're very good at making every donation count. I'm proud to say that 92% of every donation to Marion Polk Food Share goes to food and programs that help people right here in your community. We've been distributing an average of 30,000 pounds of food a day. That's almost a semi-truck load a day. So here's our challenge. Logically, if need increased 27%, then we need to bring in 27% more food. That would be an additional 2.4 million pounds of food, or, put another way, 60 semi-truck loads of food. Problem is, government support is actually being cut back. The other sources of food can't be expanded that much. And if we had to buy our way out of this challenge, it would cost about $1.2 million. That's money we don't have. That leaves us a choice. Either find ways of doing business that are new or fail in our mission. We can't fail because we know that failure means that real people in our community go hungry. And that's why Marion Polk Food Share is innovating an end to hunger.
Hello, my name is Ron Hayes. My job at Marion Polk Food Share is to end hunger. I do that by serving as the president of the organization. In the fall of 2008, as the recession was starting, things were pretty tough. Our shelves were pretty empty as we started feeling that. Had a guy by the name of Jack Thornton, who is a volunteer at Trinity Methodist Food Pantry, came up and said, "Ron, can I talk with you?" And I said, "Sure, Jack." Jack is in his 80s. He's been volunteering for about 20 years at a local food pantry. He said, "Ron, my family was in a concentration camp in the Philippines during World War II, and all they were given was a cup of rice to survive on a day." He said, "It had not been for the Red Cross giving vitamins, I don't think they would have survived." And then he walks off and leaves me with this haunting conversation. So we gathered our staff and we brought in a dietitian from the Oregon State Extension. And this dietitian led several of our volunteers from different pantries, our staff, with a discussion. If we made a commitment to never run out of food, what would that commitment be? And at the end of that discussion, we had a list of 16 core foods that if we had those core foods, we would meet the minimum daily requirements for nutrition for people eating out of a food box. Well, it's great to have a list, but it really means nothing as just a paper list. And so our staff started working with the idea, make it real. And our team worked for 3 or 4 months, and we converted our entire operation over to be a nutritionally based inventory. And we tried and searched to find models to copy. But the issue was nobody had that. We're the first in the United States to have a nutritionally based inventory, Marion Polk Food Share is. And that change really was a catalyst for us in innovation and started a lot of the innovation that we're doing today. The haunting of Jack's thoughts are very personal. In 1994, there was a picture that haunted me. And it caused me to go to Rwanda immediately following the Holocaust to work there as a volunteer in a medical team. I was in a mountain pass between the Hutu and Tutsi forces there, working in a pup tent with thousands of refugees. And in that pup tent, a 6-year-old girl was brought to me who was suffering the worst malnourishment, kwashiorkor, which is a terrible, terrible form of malnourishment. And I worked with very limited resources in the most austere of circumstances to try to re-nourish her and help her regain her health. I left Africa 2 weeks later while I was doing that every day, almost hourly, working on that. And I left Africa and came back. And 3 weeks after I got back, I got a letter saying she had passed away. She had gotten lost in the orphanage where I'd left her, and there was nobody to attend to her resources to help her re-nourish. That picture hangs in my office today, and I retranslated that. Before I said that child did not have to die, I now say that child does not have to go hungry. You know, we have the skills to make a difference. Marion Polk Food Share is not about Marion Polk Food Share. It's about our community, our friends, families, and neighbors. It's a nonprofit organization that belongs to you. We're committed not only to feed people, but we're also committed to feed people with health, to be a healthy organization. We want a healthy community, healthy children, healthy families. And it is this that drives our commitment and our innovation.
Hello, my name is Steve Morton, and my job at Marion Polk Food Share is to end hunger. I do this by serving as executive chef in your community kitchen. My office is your office. The word community, by definition, makes this kitchen our kitchen, everyone's. I feel that this privilege comes with a great responsibility. We must use every innovation available to end hunger. As Marion Polk Food Share's executive chef with 84 shifts in our kitchen and no less than 43 attempts at a low-cost, high-protein alternative, I'll be the first to admit that the patty has its challenging days. When I'm tired or my spirit lags, I just imagine those 12,000 children who go to bed hungry each month. These young children are at the most vulnerable stages of their lives, and they are in need of nutrition now. I have been at several of our partners' agencies' distributions where the need of protein has overwhelmed our supply. I'm sorry we have no more peanut butter. Yes, I'm sorry again there is no tuna fish left. The last chicken just left in the shopping cart of a grateful weeping woman who told me personally, I'm saving this for Christmas. This sad tale is too often the case at our food distributions. Children reaching into the food box as the car leaves the parking lot, searching for something quick to fill their empty tummies. Sorry isn't good enough. So each day, Marion Polk Food Share redoubles its effort to end this sad cycle. Our core demographic is a 12-year-old in need of protein. We ask ourselves daily, what combinations of flavors and textures would entice a 12-year-old's palate? How do you overcome his societal perception of protein? Does a hungry 12-year-old understand the benefits of rice and lentils? Does he care? How many food stamps does it take to buy him a frozen pizza? Do you know? Why does Top Ramen become the go-to meal at the bitter end of his parents' food stamp allocation? And how does a 12-year-old handle too much month at the end of his parents' money? Have you ever had to eat cold chili out of a Frito bag in the back of your car? What difference does the flavor of Marion Polk Food Share's protein patty matter when you're staring into an empty refrigerator? Your condiment of choice could be whatever was available at the fast food chain you couldn't afford after school. You wouldn't go in to buy, just to look, maybe go to the restroom and grab some ketchup patties on the run. Now you might see why the protein patty is such an urgent project for your food share. I've been in the food service industry my entire life, and I don't think there's ever been a recipe more important to get right. Traditional forms of protein, tuna, peanut butter, chicken, and ground beef are expensive to purchase even if they are available, and at 10 cents for 10 grams of protein, the patty just makes dollars and cents. Compared to a truckload of tuna at $75,000, or when faced with the skyrocketing price of peanut butter, the patty's numbers are undeniable. Hard times make for hard choices. At Marion Polk Food Share, our choice is to innovate. We can make the patty here with local ingredients and local ingenuity. The Patty Project can generate job opportunities for our community, as well as provide a wonderful training platform for youth seeking job skills. And yes, it's a great way for volunteers to get involved. We believe that together with your help, Marion Polk Food Share and the wonderful communities of Marion and Polk County can innovate our way to new answers in the struggle against hunger. We believe at Marion Polk Food Share that if it's worth dreaming, dream big.
Hello, my name is Rick Gappo, and my job at Marion Polk Food Share is to end hunger. And I do that by serving as the Chief Operating Officer. What that means is that my team handles the 7.6 million pounds of food that was donated, works with our 95 partnering agencies, and delivers to 8,200 families every month. But what I want to talk about today is not our day-to-day operations, but the big, exciting projects we are working on. And let me start with Steve. I know you just heard from Steve, but what I want to stress is what truly creative and innovative idea it was to bring Steve on board. Besides just being fun to work with, Steve brings knowledge to our kitchen and our efforts to think about food, not in general terms, but to think about food as nutritional food and what best serves the family's needs. There are a few other food banks that have a cook, but there is no food bank that has a food developer, and that's what Steve is. Because you can't really have this conversation about how to innovate and end hunger unless you can also talk about ways to provide affordable, nutritional food to the families we serve.